all the bodyguarding in the world isn't going to keep them safe. At some point, they're going to get hurt. They're going to come face to face with a situation that they need to think their way out of, or sometimes, I don't think this is somewhere that we need to go right now, but like sometimes fight their way out of, right? We need to teach them as a teacher and use the things that occurred in their lives, the painful things, as a teaching opportunity instead of an opportunity to go in and fix the situation and be the hero.
As fathers, the bar is so damn low that if you show up, you wake up, you go to work, you come home, like you're crushing it compared to many. Right. And so, and I'm sure that the statistics of like me not killing myself and me not, and me, whatever, not having a shitty life are going to be pretty good. But what would the difference be as a 40-year-old man today for me to be so confident in who I am if my father really helped my identity be, have a foundation. And so I think that just the statistics of like, I didn't kill myself compared to like really abundant, beautiful life. Like that's our opportunity. Our opportunity is to help our kids have like, what if families look like in 1,000 years? Like the way you and I show up today, like we're passing that down if we take it that serious. And that's abundance. That's blessing. That's our opportunity.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But it starts with you loving yourself, which I think is phenomenal. So let me ask this question, because you did say good parents, your parents are still together, I believe you said?
Yeah, they are.
Okay. What's something that you're 38. So what's something that you loved about your dad or appreciated? Let's use that. What's something you appreciated about your dad, and what's something you wish your dad would have done differently?
Good questions. I love those questions. I've spent a lot of time thinking about the second one, especially because what I did part of this process the past couple of years, and I coach a lot of guys to do this as well, is to start with these two questions that are really related. And, what do you wish your dad had taught you? And what conversations you wish your dad had had with you? Beautiful. And you're writing a to-do list with your kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Killer.
And so I've thought about that a lot. Since I started with that one, let me just give you my answer to that. I wish my dad had just had more of these kind of conversations with me. Not even like just dropping knowledge bombs, left and right, just more conversations about what it means to be a man, a husband, a father. One of the things I've been doing with my son, who's 14 now, is we've been sitting down and, I realized that so much of my definition of what a man should be, good definitions, came from movies, because I didn't have a lot of men around me that I wanted to emulate. And I said, well, that's kind of weird. I had a conversation with my dad. We talked about it. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do is go to my son. I'm like, this is what we're going to do. Here's a list of these great movies that I think taught me how to be a man. We're going to watch them together. Then we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about, we have some standard questions, but it's like, what did you learn from this? Like, what did you like about that main character? How do you think he screwed up? What would you have done differently? And we just watched The Patriot. And so The Patriot, great movie.
So good.
But there's this dynamic between Mel Gibson and his oldest son, Heath Ledger. And now I get to have this conversation with my son where I'm like, do you see how the father told the son not to do something? The son didn't listen. He's like, yeah, the father doesn't understand the son's perspective. The son doesn't understand the father's perspective. He doesn't want him to go off to war. The son wants to go off to war. And in the end, he goes off to war. And then through that, he realizes how right his dad was, and his dad realizes how right he was. And now my son and I get to have this conversation about this. Yeah. And I wish my dad had done more of that. He did a lot of great things, and he made a lot of mistakes too, I'm sure. But I wish we had had more conversations like that, just kind of low key, low level, just shooting the breeze about this kind of thing, because I had to go and figure all this stuff out for myself. What he did that I love, I had this cool moment a couple of years ago where I was, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where I was rolling around on the floor with probably all my kids. And I said something, and it was this weird, it wasn't quite an out of body experience, but it was my dad's voice that came out of my mouth. And it was like, just these like subconscious memories. I must have been so small that I don't remember the actual playing but something clicked. The words I said must have been like the exact same thing that he said. My voice sounds very similar to his voice. And it was one of those things, was like, oh yeah, good memories playing with him. And like now I'm replicating that with my kids, and I'm rolling around on the floor playing with him. So I love, especially in the young years, how much he played with us. He played, my older brother and I, he would be, perpetual quarterback, and we'd go one-on-one in the backyard playing football. He taught us how to play basketball. Just all the games that we played. And I do feel like I probably pulled away at a certain age, but I think he probably took a step back, because I remember when he stopped playing basketball with us and how we missed it. And so, flip that into something I wish he had done, or maybe some advice to the dads, like, don't ever stop playing with your kids. Like, my son is 14. We still play basketball, partly because he still can't beat me, and I don't plan on letting him. He's going to have to earn that.
Yeah, earn it.
But like all these games that he plays, sometimes I don't feel like playing, and then I play and I'm like, oh yeah, I get to be a kid with him. So like, I wish my dad kept playing with me, and I need to keep playing with our kids. And I would say all the dads out there should keep playing with their kids, no matter how old they are.
Yeah. Why do you think your dad pulled back?
I was a tough kid to deal with. I had an explosive temper. And I think I know I had a conversation with him that at one point he was like, I know Locke is smart. I know he's a good person, and he needs to find his own path, because my path, he's resisting my path. And so it was a good intentioned decision, I think, to take a little bit of a step back. We were always battling. Like, I'm smart, but I never got good grades because I didn't try hard in school. And my older brother got straight A's, and he was just as smart. And, I know that it was a little disappointing. My dad's a 40-year high school English professor. So I know it irked him. And I went to the high school that he taught at. We grew up on campus. And so, all of my teachers were his friends. I know it bothered him. And I think it was a little bit of self-preservation, taking a step back, but also it was well-intentioned, because it's like, if I keep butting heads with Locke, I'm going to push him away. And I'm just going to trust that he's going to turn out okay. He's a good kid in a good environment, and he'll figure it out. Yeah. And I remember him saying that to me at one point. And I respect that. I get that. And I respect that. On some level, I think he made the right decision. On another level, I think that part of me wishes he kept fighting for me. I don't know what would have happened. I don't know how much we would have butted heads. But I do think that every child wants their parents, especially their father, to fight for them. And that's definitely one lesson that I've taken away with, especially my son. When I see him, dragging his feet, metaphorically, not working as hard as he could, I've had to change my approach and soften my approach. But I'm not going to pester him, but I'm also never going to kind of give up on him. I'm always going to be fighting to help him reach his potential in the ways that he wants, right? Like, the way that I want him to reach his potential doesn't matter. The things that he's passionate about, I want to see him work hard. I want to see him not give up. I want to see him be persistent. I'm going to help him with his mindset. I'm never going to stop fighting for him in that sense. So, that was one lesson I learned from that. But at the same time, I understand, because I think he was afraid that I was going to just completely shut down or just leave at some point and kind of not be there anymore.
Yeah, well, something you said that I think is really important takeaway for dads to take is, you said if your son were to rebel, you didn't use that word, but if he were to kind of fight and go a direction, you said you change your approach.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I think as dads, you got 4 kids. Each of them are so different. They're so different. I cannot discipline, speak to, listen to. I can't do that the same way with each of my kids. It'd be super easy if it was. But part of my opportunity is, as the leader of the home, right, is I get to know each of my kids, and that's my responsibility. If this avenue didn't work, then I'm going to try this avenue, then this avenue. And again, I'm with you. Like, I don't want to become the pester, right? I don't want to become annoying. I need to kind of understand
we got to let them fail
my
sometimes.
kid. Oh, for sure. Failure is great. It's just that I want to be the guy they trust to come talk to when they do fail. And so the way that I respond, not react to their failures, is like hyper important. And I would say, especially in that like 11 to 13, right? 11 to 13 dads is so freaking critical that you respond and listen and don't react, because then you're setting up for the next 10 years of them coming to you when they hit a failure. It's like such a great opportunity. So in thinking about opportunity as a dad, what would you say in a couple sentences is the role of the father?
So I've thought a lot about this, and I like the comparison between a bodyguard and a teacher. And for a long time, I was the bodyguard dad, and especially with like newborns. It's like, no, don't climb that rock wall. You're 10 feet up in the air. You're going to break your neck, right? And sometimes we have to do that. But I've tried to adjust into more of a teacher role, because what I see the difference is, like, a bodyguard is going to protect kids or whoever they're hired to protect.
Yeah.
They're not going to let the danger near. And in certain situations, that's great. You know, somebody's breaking in your house, like, you're not letting them near your kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
But other situations, normal life situations, I think that the role of a father should be more of a teacher. And, you know, I said something, we got to let our kids fail sometimes. A teacher, a good teacher, is going to teach you how to handle a certain situation. A father is going to teach you what you need to know to be prepared for life, or as best prepared as he possibly can. Yeah. And sometimes that involves letting the danger a little bit closer than a metaphorical bodyguard might. Sometimes that involves letting them figure it out themselves, letting them fail. I'm a very opinionated person. My way is the best way to do it. I don't care what you have to say. You can argue that your way is better, and if you convince me, like, I'll begrudgingly change my way, but that's rare. I've had to. The one phrase that I've adopted is I'll look at my kids and I'll silently, kind of in my head, say, I love you more than I need to be right. Because I've come to realize that being a father isn't about mentally beating them into submission. It's about teaching them to think for themselves. Because what happens when you're not there anymore? What happens when they go off to college or whatever it is that they're doing next? All the bodyguarding in the world isn't going to keep them safe. At some point, they're going to get hurt. They're going to come face to face with a situation that they need to think their way out of, or sometimes, you know, I don't think this is somewhere that we need to go right now, but like sometimes fight their way out of, right? We need to teach them as a teacher and use the things that occurred in their lives, the painful things, as a teaching opportunity instead of an opportunity to go in and fix the situation and be the hero. Like, it's so easy to feel like we're the hero as the dad, especially with young kids. All of our kids start off seeing us as perfect superheroes. And eventually that changes, right? Like, hopefully later rather than sooner. But it's really tempting to just, especially as a guy, but as a parent, to just fix everything so that you're still the hero. You're upset, your toy broke. Oh, I can fix that. Oh, somebody said something mean to you on the school bus. Well, let me call the principal. Let me get them in trouble, right? Oh, you lost, your team lost. Let's just do participation trophies, right? These are bodyguard actions. We're trying to protect them from anything dangerous. But instead, I think a father's role is being a teacher. It's saying, oh, you lost. That really sucks. Let me validate and empathize with your feelings. Not just shut them down. I'm not going to shame you for feeling bad. I'm not going to say you should have played better. I'm going to validate what you're feeling. I'm going to empathize. I'm going to acknowledge it. And then I'm going to say, hey, do you want to do better next time? Because when you're ready, I'll tell you exactly what we need to do, and I'll do it with you. That's teaching, right? It's not just abandoning them. It's you know, a teacher in school who doesn't just walk out of the room, but it's letting them feel what the real world is like, and then teaching them how to deal with it while they're still under your protection. And you can step in if you really have to, so that when they're not under your protection anymore, they know what they're doing. They know how to protect themselves. They know how to handle this stuff. And I think I struggle with that sometimes, to be honest with you, still. But I think that that's the role of a father.